Happy Monday, guys. Well, today's October 7th, 2024, about 12:30 p.m. And I wanted to take some time here and share a little training for all of you guys that are new to the insurance business, whether, you're working from home, using technology, making phone calls to sell final expense, or you're face to face, but you're picking up the phones every day to set up your appointments, or you have somebody else setting up your appointments. Well, you're definitely going to want to listen to this training here on this beautiful Monday. And this has to do with the FCC's one-to-one consent that's going to go into effect on January 27th of 2025. And how does this affect you when you're buying your leads? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. We're also going to break down CRMs, how they can be out of compliance. And for all of you that are buying age leads, we're going to go over some things that you need to look out for. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the FCC one-to-one consent rule. So basically what this means is that the lead quality is going to get a lot better. And let me share with you guys why. Now, the TCPA one-to-one consent rule is a regulatory requirement established by the FCC to ensure that consumers provide prior express written consent for receiving marketing communication to each individual seller. Key word here, individual seller. You guys notice at the bottom there, the new rule, which goes into effect again, January 27, 2025, requires that prior express written consent be obtained separately for each company seeking to use such consent. In other words, there must be a one-to-one consent. So what does this all mean for all of you guys that are buying leads? Well, it means that your name, your agency name, needs to be on that consent form. If your name's not on that consent form, then you can be facing some TCPA violations that can cost you thousands of dollars. And, myself this year, I've received 6 illegal calls to my personal cell phone. And, I've been able to settle 5 of them for cash settlements within 72 hours of me contacting the people that have been harassing me on the phones for TCPA and DNC reasons. And I'm talking about big organizations and small groups that I've been able to collect cash money because they were blowing up my phone with what? My prior written consent. And let me share with you guys a little bit of what they're talking about, for especially you guys that are new. Here's an example of a website that an agency sent over to me to check out their compliance. Okay, Medicare Advantage, also known as Part C. CMS approves these. So I don't know if this is approved or not, but what are we talking in terms of consent? This is the little box that every website, lander, Facebook, if you're calling a television commercial, they'll get you a verbal and they'll read you a disclosure. But it's the little box where you put in your name, your last name, your phone number, zip code, and notice what the fine print says. By clicking submit, I provide my electronic signature to my Medicare quotes now, expressively consenting via this chat web form interaction for a licensed sales agent associated with up to 8 insurance companies or their agents to contact me at the number and address provided with insurance quotes, product services. In my opinion, they should be more transparent with exactly who is going to be calling them. But in your case, when you go and buy a lead, okay, from somebody, again, your name is going to have to be on there. No questions about it. Here's another example. By clicking Get My Quotes, I agree to the terms of service and privacy policy. By selecting the above chat box, I give my express written consent by electronic signature to receive marketing and other calls, texts, and emails related to the product or service I'm inquiring about, sent to my contact information as entered in this form, Regal Results, and then the name of these people that have permission, keyword, permission or consent to call these people back. Now, I'm not saying that these are exactly the way they need to be. I'm just showing you examples of people that have sending me their forms so I can review them. But the bottom line, you need to make sure that you have their permission to call. And your name needs to be on that form. If your name is not on that form, then obviously you could be facing some major issues in the event that person decides to take you there, because this is a one-to-one consent. And if you really think about this, this is going to make your lead quality that much better, because before it was not a one-to-one consent, as long as it, if the person that received the lead would offer us, something that's similar to what they were requesting, that was okay. But nowadays, that is not okay. So what is a seller and a lead generator? Let's break that down. Okay. Because again, when you're out there buying leads, you're buying it from a marketing organization, but that marketing organization can have a complete other name. And here you are calling, and your name is not on there. That can be a problem. Now, let's go ahead and break this down just a little bit more. Okay, you are the seller. And the person that you bought the leads from is the lead generator. So your information, you're the one that's providing the goods and services, must be on this form. And the carriers that you represent. So for example, myself, I work for Herrera Insurance Marketing. That's the agency. But Senior Life Insurance Company is my product. Their name has to be on that form as well. That way, the consumer has a clear understanding of who is going to be calling him or her. And if somebody else outside of Herrera Insurance Marketing or Senior Life and somebody else calls outside of those two, then that right there can potentially cost you a violation. Again, a lead generator cannot just put their name on that form. Your name has to be on that because you are the one that is providing the goods and services. A lead generator's only job is to gather the potential information, but they do not deliver on the product or services that you sell. So if you sell final expense, you're the one that sells that product, that service, not the person that's helping you generate the lead. So this is going to be a big deal for a lot of people, let me tell you. Because a lot of the lead vendors today, they would sell the lead to anybody that sold final expense, and there was not a problem. The opt-in, worked because they had that lead, they had permission, and they bought that lead. But moving forward, those days are over. For myself, I'm exclusively selling for Senior Life Insurance Company. So all of our lead systems is in compliant because the agents that work with our agency only are representing Senior Life, and they're not cross-selling other carriers, because if they did, technically that would be a violation because those other carriers had no permission of contacting that lead. So now let's go ahead and talk about CRMs. Okay. CRMs and what to look out for. Now, if you guys can see here on our CRM, every green is an inbound. This means that the customer saw the ACA commercial, whether it was on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, television. They called in right then and there. And as soon as they called in, we captured the birth date of this lead. So this lead came in at 2:21 p.m., 30.740 seconds. This is the exact origination that these leads came in for this agent. But a lot of you guys that are new to using CRM systems, you guys don't understand that there is a 90-day rule on calling leads. And a lot of you guys are setting up text message automation. You're doing a lot of stuff with text messaging on your fancy CRMs. And texting for quotes and doing all kinds of cool stuff. But a lot of people are getting in trouble because they are clueless on this 90-day window. So what does that mean? Well, we just talked about the one-to-one consent, and how long does that consent last if someone's on the do not call registry? Well, that is 90 days. So from the time of birth, as you can see here, on October 7th at 1:39 p.m., in 3 months from now, we will no longer be able to text message them, use our AI, our automation. Why not? Because that express consent has expired. And a lot of you guys that are buying leads or working leads, text messaging leads using CRM have no clue on that rule. And I'm telling you, I have held several agencies for 90 plus phone calls that were made to me and they had no idea this was happening simply because their CRM system was just pumping out those messages, and they were clueless on the fact that they needed to program their CRM to weed out those leads after 90 days. That's right. So once a lead is entered into your CRM, you know the origination date, and you program your CRM to take that lead out 90 days later, or if a prospect tells you to put on the internal DNC, then you do it at that point in time. But you need to be very, very careful with how you're using your CRM, because these CRM, especially with automation, could be pumping out violations, and you don't have no idea this is happening. I'll go ahead and post the video that I talked about the 90-day rule, and I'll put it here in the comment section. Go ahead and check it out, because I break that down and I share with you exactly what I'm talking about. Once someone becomes a client, then you still have the permission that extends way longer, where you can go ahead and text them because now they're your customer. So again, be careful with your CRM. Make sure that you're checking your system, because after 90 days, you can no longer text message, no longer AI, no longer automation. You can manually dial them, but moving forward, you need to make sure that those people are not on the national or state DNC. And Aperion is a great tool. If you need something for free, they'll give you 10 numbers an hour, but they only cover national, and they don't cover the 13 states that have their own state specific. So I'll go ahead and post a video on that so you could check that out. So now let's go ahead and talk about age leads. Age leads is something that is a serious, serious topic, because every agency owner I've ever met, they provide fresh leads, and then they also have an inventory of old leads. And that is great, especially when you get started. You need the numbers and the exposure to talk to as many people as you possibly can. It's obvious. But you need to be careful when you're buying age leads. And that has to do with your TCPA, DNC violations. And what do I mean by that? Well, like I told you guys, after 90 days, that express consent it's over. You don't have no more permission unless they re-opt or they give you permission to call back, and you have proof of that. It's over. So moving forward, you can only call them manually, but the phone number cannot be on the DNC. So if you're buying age leads and you don't know when the lead was originated, then at that point in time, you got to check all of those leads to make sure they're not on the DNC. And then from there forward, you can call manually to solicit your goods and services. But you can no longer text message them or any of that. You can only manually call them. I see a lot of agents that are buying age leads, and they do not know when the leads were generated. They are not checking to see if they're on the DNC. They are just blowing up those phones, and then they're receiving these demand letters from pro se litigators like myself and other peoples that know their rights and holding them accountable. And they are shocked when they find out. I have, I have seen just countless agencies lose thousands and thousands of dollars simply because they just didn't have this figured out. And I'll give you one more example. of a gentleman that reached out to me so you can understand what I mean by this. You need to be careful with aged leads. Okay, so let me share. I'm going to share with you guys just a little back and forth dialogue I had with this rep. So let me share this here. Listen to what he says. Hey, Laurel, I found your video on YouTube and you got some good content, man. I know you're not a lawyer or anything, but I was wondering if I could get some advice, one agent to the next, about someone trying to go after me regarding what your video covered, TCPA. Please let me know if you can lend me some advice. If not, it's all good, and hope you're thriving in your insurance business. So here's a gentleman working for an agency, and a litigator is coming after him for a violation. So what happened? That brokerage he worked for were not in compliance, and this litigator got him on the hook. And for what he understood, they used an overseas company to call people. They would create a warm transfer and transfer it to him. And this gentleman wants $2,500 to forget about this violation. So whose responsibility was this? That brokerage that was selling him leads that were not in compliance, and this gentleman who's an agent ended up what? Having to face this litigator because of that. So this happens. It happens every single day. And in 2025, you're going to see more and more people getting these type of complaints and violations simply because they didn't have the right information. So if you're buying aged leads, I'm all about it. I think there's a great opportunity in the aged leads, but if they're over 90 days old, you need to scrub those and make sure that none of those numbers are on the national or state DNC. And I'm going to tell you right now, just so you don't get your hopes up, over 50% of Americans are registered on the national do not call registry. So 90 days later, if you got 1,000 numbers, you better you better realize that half of those numbers will be, and you can't call them. And obviously that costs money. If you call on a lead that's 60 days old, well, you got 30 days to call before you need to check and see if they're on the DNC, and also before you can no longer use any of the fancy stuff that you're using. So I hope you guys, got some game here, because you're really going to need it. And the more you're on the phone, again, whether you're calling your leads to set up appointments, you can be at risk, or you're working from home, blowing up people's phones all day long and not even, and disregarding this because you had no clue about it. This can be something bad. Like I said, I've made several $1,000s this year from holding centers, small and large, for these issues. And it's your responsibility to stay on top of this, because you're the one they're coming after when you make those calls. So if you guys need any more assistance, call me, send me a message. I'm on all platforms, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. You guys have a great day, and see you guys at the top. Peace.